Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Laura Sokola, founder of Vocal Impact Productions and author of Speaking to Influence, Mastering Your Leadership Voice. Welcome to my podcast, Speaking to Influence, Communication Secrets of the C-Suite. Why are we doing this? Who are you? Who am I? Why are we here? And what are we looking to achieve together? The simple truth is that if you're here, you're a business leader, you're an executive, you're a business owner, perhaps. You could work with a for-profit or a nonprofit organization, or maybe you're someone who aspires to the top. You're on your way up, climbing the career ladder, and you aspire to success. This is really what we're all here to do. And one of the trickiest parts is that there is a point at which, in that career trajectory, it's not enough just to have great tech skills. We all rise to a certain level because we're great at finance, great at IT, great at research, great at something else that we probably went to college for. But at that point, either you learn also how to have great communication skills, which are at the core of leadership, or you're just going to stay at the top of the department, the best programmer, the best architect, the best marketer, etc. But you're not going to lead the institution the same way. And that is because a true leader inspires when they talk. And that inspiration is something that does not need to just be born. It can be learned. It can be developed like any good talent, but you have to really focus on what it takes to go from just talking to inspiring. Because when you inspire people through the way that you talk, that's when you tap into influence. And influence is the key. Where do you need to influence? Who do you need to influence? Everywhere and everyone, frankly. You have to be influential and inspiring at weekly meetings, at board meetings, at client meetings. Are you doing webinars nowadays? All of us are on video all of a sudden in this era. Video conferences or not so video conferences. Are you on stage at conferences? Are you on camera for Zoom, or are you on camera because you have television interviews? Are you on national media, or do you aspire to be in the media? One way or another, you want to know that when you talk, people sit up and take notice. You've got that executive presence, or otherwise known as command presence, or just leadership presence. It's kind of that X factor, right? You know some people who there's just something about them, and it doesn't have to be that they're 6'4" and 250 pounds and built like a truck to have that presence. They can be very small and unassuming physically. But when they walk into a room, people stop and take notice. When they talk, people listen, and people are captivated, not just held captive. You don't want a captive audience. Those are people who are stuck, who are unable to leave. You want a captivated audience. That's what I want, is a captivated audience. People who are completely free to leave, but choose not to because they want to hear what you have to say. That is powerful leadership. And that's what I do. That's what I help others do. I'm a linguist by training, but I'm also an executive coach, a trainer, a speaker, as I mentioned before, an author. As an executive coach in particular, my work is a little bit different from your traditional executive coaching because I'm not going to help you make any business decisions. Not going to help you look at finance, not going to help you look at your HR roster, not going to help you look at your product line. In the end, my job is very narrowly focused. I'm an influence coach. Somebody else can help you make all of those critical decisions, or maybe you can make them by yourself. But in the end, I'm going to help you get buy-in from the key stakeholders when you've made those decisions, because without that buy-in, they're nothing but ideas. You need to get people on board so that they see your vision. They get it because they get you. And then they're willing to follow you voluntarily and turn that vision into reality. That's what we want to achieve here today and moving forward together. Clients come to me because they're looking for a variety of things. It can be that they're already in an executive role and perhaps they realize that they've got the job, but people aren't following as willingly as they'd like. They don't feel as connected to their people. Maybe they feel like they're not having the influence and the pull that they want. They don't have the buy-in from the new or maybe not so new people who they're working with. It could be about developing better board relations. Perhaps there's a little bit of imposter syndrome where you're ready for that top spot, and then you get it and you suddenly fear, oh my gosh, will others look at me and say, you don't belong here. You're not ready for this. You don't have what it takes. How do you get that head trash out of the way and make sure that you're projecting the confidence, the authority, the leadership that you really want? Maybe people need help with diplomacy and conflict management. A lot of people want me to help them with public speaking and presentation skills, investor pitches. Maybe you even want to give a TED talk. I did some coaching for TED for a number of years, and my TED talk, Want to Sound Like a Leader, Start by Saying Your Name Right, has done pretty well. I've got over 6 million views over a few years now, so not too shabby. So if that's something you're looking for, help with your storytelling and how to really captivate the audience in that very formal context, these are also reasons why people may work with me. But it's not just about when you're already at the top. Maybe you're a high potential. You're in the pipeline. You're looking at succession planning for yourself or for people who are following behind you. One of the most common phrases that I hear when people want me to work with one of their people in the pipeline is, well, they're the most technically qualified for the position, but. And that but is critical. That but is a game changer, and it can really be a career derailer because it inevitably means, yes, they know their content, but they lack that executive presence. They lack those communication skills. They lack the ability to inspire people and to have the influence that they want. So that's why I'm creating this podcast, because I know that I can't coach everybody one-on-one. I can't even work with the world's as a trainer team by team or company by company. But when I'm speaking on stage, I do a lot of conference presentations, a lot of media engagements. So many people come and say, "We need you, we need you, we need you." So how can I get the message out to the most people possible? And thus the podcast is born. So what are we doing with this? Where are we going with it? I'm interviewing top leaders, and here's why. As I mentioned before, leadership is an image. It is an image. There is a great difference, and you know this is true, between being a boss and being a leader. You're a boss because it says so on the org chart, right? People have to follow you because you outrank them. They report directly to you. But when people see you as a leader, they follow willingly. They get it. They get you. They get your vision, and they're on board. So to succeed, you need to have influence with those key stakeholders. At that point, just your communication skills being good enough aren't good enough. There's no such thing as good enough if you're looking to excel at the top. And the fact is, you can't afford to wait until you're almost there and someone says that but about you too. Breaking through that glass ceiling and getting into the executive suite and really succeeding there requires the development of those soft skills. And I hate that term, soft skills, because there's nothing soft about them. If anything, they're hard, ironically. Somebody referred to them as essential skills, and that's really what they are. You cannot lead without being able to connect. And that's where I have developed what I call my 3 C's of vocal executive presence: the ability to command the room, connect with the audience, and close the deal. You need to know that inside scoop now, not after your resume is submitted for that job. You need to be able to stand out from others. So the question then becomes, what skills in that communication realm do you need to develop to get to and or succeed at the top? Why are they important? And how do you do it? Those are the questions that we're going to answer in this podcast. Each episode, I'll be interviewing top executives. Sometimes they're in for-profit companies, sometimes nonprofit organizations. We'll be talking to some serial entrepreneurs, leaders of all different shapes and sizes. And with them, we're going to be discussing things like the role of influence in their jobs, in their companies, in their careers. We want to talk to them about the learning curve. How did they learn these skills? And did some of those learnings happen the hard way? when they are looking at you, perhaps, as somebody in the pipeline. Either they're looking to hire or promote. Aside from those technical skills, the numbers skills, the design skills, etc., with regard to your communication ability, what do they look for in hiring or promoting? And what are some red flags that might be deal breakers for them? What about executive presence, right? We mentioned that earlier. What's their definition of it? What do they look for? How do they recognize it in others? And with regard to managing up, don't you wish you knew what your boss really wanted? If your boss would just give you a template and say, when you present to me, do more of X, less of Y, you'll make me happy, and life will be much better. If you had that map, that roadmap, life would be so much easier. Well, they're going to give you that roadmap. What do people at the top look for? What do they wish more people would do when presenting to them? And then at the end of the interview, we're going to have what I like to call the speed round, where we're going to hit a bunch of popular topics that are things that people are constantly bringing up to me. Things like public speaking, the fear involved, and how to overcome it, how to manage nerves. Is it something you're born good at, or can you learn it? Hint, you can learn it. I often hear things like, well, I'm an introvert, or, well, I'm really extroverted. So that shouldn't be a get out of jail free card or an excuse to not have to get better or not have to learn to flex and work with other people differently. So we're going to talk about where they fit on those continua and how they've learned to leverage and what they've learned to develop as a result. Even things like in conflict. When you're faced with a challenge, either something you have to bring up to others or that others bring to your attention, what kicks in reflex-wise? Fight or flight, or maybe freeze? What's their natural instinct? And then how have they learned to sometimes stretch out of that? Because you can't always just allow your reflex to take over. Nobody gets to the top that way. Or if they do, they don't stay there very long. And one other piece that I'm going to ask each of my guests for is that they provide you with a 24-hour influence challenge. One step that you can take to stretch a little bit and make connections, have influence with others, start a conversation, or otherwise take the next step to give yourself the opportunity to be more influential. And that's really what it's about, is steps, little by little. It is not at all about trying to have some huge, big project where it's about trying to figure out how to manage thousands of people or how to get on the global TED stage right away. No, step by step. Pick your first step and take it. And with each little step, each conversational opening, each invitation to connect somehow, that's where it begins. And frankly, that's also where it ends, with those steps. So in the end, thank you so much for joining me for this podcast. I'm going to invite you to please subscribe to the podcast. And of course, don't forget to like it and rate it, but subscribe so that you never miss an episode. I want your feedback. I want to know what you think, what you'd like more of. Go to speakingtoinfluence.com also. And at that website, you can then download my quick start guide to mastering the 3 C's. Remember, that's to command the room, connect with the audience, and close the deal. And of course, on the website, you can also see my social media links and all of those other pieces that would love to continue to hear from you. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. I'm Dr. Laura Sokola, and you are listening to Speaking to Influence, Communication Secrets of the C-Suite. Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Laura Sokola, and I want to sincerely thank you for listening to the Speaking to Influence podcast. If you love listening to these episodes as much as I love bringing them to you, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And please go to iTunes right now to rate and review our podcast in order to help us expand our reach so even more people can master the 3 C's to command the room, connect with the audience, and close the deal.
Thanks for listening to Speaking to Influence, Communication Secrets of the C-Suite, the show for leaders who want to speak with impact. The hosts, producers, owners, and media distributors of the show make no guarantees that the strategies and information discussed will result in profit or other success and may result in losses. The opinions and statements of the hosts and guests do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the owners, staff, managers, broadcasters, or sponsors of the show. No medical or psychological therapy or personal or professional wellness or relationship advice is offered in the show. You are advised to seek counsel on matters related to your health, family, relationships, job, or other business and legal matters from licensed advisors in those areas prior to making any changes in business or lifestyle. No information provided may be suitable in your situation. As always, take responsibility for the decisions and actions you take, including the reactions they may make in your work, family, health, and life.